and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Running Podcast with myself, Sean Gaffney, and Pete. Pete was on holiday, so Pete couldn't make it. He is back, but he couldn't make it tonight, but he'll be back for the next one. And so for this episode, we've been following a bit of an ultra running theme the last couple of episodes, and I've got a gentleman here. He was born in Australia, but he did convert to Scotland. This is Mr. Dion Leonard. With the past ultra guests we've had on, they've been up to 100k. Dion takes part in ultra marathons, which are up to 250 mile across deserts. And he doesn't just take part; he wins and podiums at these insane ultras, which you'll never find me doing. Maybe a wee 50k somewhere, but never an ultra 250 miles in the desert. But I'd like to welcome onto the podcast Mr. Dion Leonard. So first of all, thanks for coming on, and how are you, Dion?
Awesome to be here. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you as well. It's good to hear the Scottish twang again, actually. Living in the
Yeah.
US at the moment, I don't come across too many Scots, so yeah, good to speak with you.
Oh, cool. I thought there'd be a load of Scots over there. No.
Probably are, but they're probably in the bar.
Yeah. Most like that's where they go. Anywhere they go on holiday, anywhere like where's the nearest bar, and they do a good pint of tenants or whatever. But yeah, so again, thanks for coming on. And so, Dion, I came across it was mainly about your story, with your dog Gobi, when you were in the middle of running an ultra, which we'll get on to. But just to round off, some of the races that Dion has ran. So. Dion, he's also a motivational speaker. He's a New York Times bestseller of the book Finding Gobi. It's a non-fiction memoir of the story of his dog Gobi, who ran 77 miles across the Gobi Desert with him during a 155-mile race. But some races that Dion has did is the Kalahari Og, Og, Ograbies Extreme Marathon, 250 kilometers, 220-kilometer race, the ancient Khmer Path in Cambodia, the Gobi Desert, 250 kilometers. He's did also the Triple Crown. He's did the Bigfoot 200, Tahoe 200, and the Moab 240. You've did the Grand Slam of ultra running and the Leadville Lebanon series. It's the Leadville Trail MTB, Silver Rush, Leadville Marathon, Leadville 10K. You've literally done it all. You've did Badwater in 30 hours. You've did Western States. So my first question is, where did this all start? Why did you start off like a 5K, or was it just straight into ultras?
No, I actually started off with a half marathon, and it actually came about through a drunken bet with a friend one night. And before we moved up to Edinburgh, I was actually living in Manchester, and my friend there said he was going to run the Wilmslow half. And it was about 4 months' time until the race was on, and he was training hard for it. And he was telling everyone at his 30th birthday party, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, how he was training hard and how he was wanting to go and beat his time of 1 hour 50 the year before. I'd had a few adult beverages that night, and I was listening into this story and him telling everyone, how good he was. And I thought to myself, well, I
Well,
don't
I
think
don't think.
I think I could probably run 13.1 miles too. Everyone was laughing at me saying, there's no way you could run for a bus, let alone 13.1 miles. So I got a bit sort of worked up about it. And I said to my friend Dan, I said, I bet you I could beat you at this race because I had so many adult beverages. I kept talking too. And I said, I'll even give you 5 minutes head start. So I remember like the next day I woke up, I was really hungover, and my wife came in and said, hey, you made this really dumb bet with Dan last night. You're going to beat him in a half marathon. And I remembered everyone there laughing at me saying he couldn't do it. So I thought, oh, I'll get up, have, of course, a bacon buddy, and then see how far I can run. And I literally couldn't run around the block. I was out of breath. I was in really bad shape. I had previously been 125 kilos, pack a day smoker, really heavy drinker. And so I knew I had a lot of work to do to even like get to the start line of this race. Anyway, I went on from going, of course, around the block to 2 blocks to 3 blocks to 1 mile to 2 mile. I had 4 months to get ready. During that time, Dan would often message me and say, hey, have you done any training? And I'd actually lie to him and say, no, I've just left the bar, I'll be there on the day, it'll be fine. But secretly, I was out there training, losing weight, getting fitter, going further. We fast forward to the race day. I know I have to beat Dan by 5 minutes. So when I rock on up to the start line, he sees me for the first time and his jaw drops because he can see I've lost a lot of weight. He knows I've been lying to him. And as soon as the gun goes off, I start running as fast as I can. And it was pretty warm. Like it was like April, May, I think the race is on. And I pushed as hard as I could throughout the day. And I finished around 1 hour 30. Now, I didn't know what that meant, but I was, grateful just to finish the race to begin with. But I knew I had to beat down by 5 minutes. So I spent the next 5 minutes looking at my watch to see if I had. And my wife had run the race too. So she'd finished a few minutes after me. And then Dan finished over the 5 minutes period. So well, I knew that I'd won the bet. And he now had to take me out to this fancy restaurant where all the Manchester United soccer players go, football players. And that was really cool. So that was what the loser had to do. I had crossed the finish line and felt really good about myself. Yeah, sure, I'd won the bet, but it wasn't about that. It was about this sort of sense of achievement and sense of sort of being something, like feeling good about myself and getting to the finish line and having done all the training that I thought, oh, maybe this running's good for me. So that sort of led then to do a marathon with my wife, which was a fun marathon in France across the Bordeaux wine region. So we got to drink wine and hang out for the day. And then from there, I ended up going off to start doing stage races all around the world, including the Kalahari Extreme Marathon there, 155 miles, 250 kilometers, Marathon de Sable, and many different races all around the world. So, yeah, one drunken bet sort of changed my sort of trajectory, made my life better. Running has been really good for me in many different ways. So I had a pretty difficult childhood and, tough life. And I've used running as that sort of mental escape from things. And I don't even like running. So yeah, it's wonderful to see, where it's taken me, considering I hate running.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know why we do it to ourselves. There's literally nothing good about it because you're in with after a mile, depends on what the training run is, you're in you can feel the discomfort starting to kick in. So why do we do it? There must be something wrong with us.
I just ran a 100-mile race on the weekend, and during it, like 60 odd miles in, I was thinking to myself, we are really, really dumb to do this, aren't we? Like, why are we out here? What are we doing this? I was I was in a really good spot mentally, but I was just thinking, God, it's just unbelievable what we'll put ourselves through to be out here to do this. And yeah, you've got to dig deep at times. And yeah, but that's the challenge, right? And that's the fun of it. And that's the reward you get when you finish. You look back and you can feel pretty proud of yourself as well.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I was my first marathon, Frankfurt, I was so obsessed with getting my time, etc. And then I finished, got my time. It was under 2:45. I was like, oh, my girlfriend. I was like, I did it. I got underneath my time, and she was just like, Sean, you just ran 26 miles. Like that's an achievement in itself. Like,
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, like yeah. Like you look at it, that would, take a wee step back. There's a lot of people who maybe struggle to run 5K. I've just ran 26 miles at a decent clip,
absolutely.
so kind of makes you
And
think like, yeah, why do we do it to
so
ourselves?
even if things don't go to plan, there's something to take from that too. And, with any DNF as well, I think there's always something that you're learning and growing and improving from those experiences too. And I think it's just how we sort of uh, word it or sort of think about these things within ourselves as well. My wife always, sort of says, got to be kinder to ourselves when we run, because we can be running along and think, oh, I should have done more training. Oh, I should have lost more weight. Shouldn't have had so many beers. Whatever it is, you're beating yourself up, right? And it's like, but as you say, you've just run this incredible distance. You've just achieved something that most people probably won't do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. I think that there is a I think every runner is probably too hard on themselves. They don't realise, how hard it is, to work a full-time job and go out and do the training. That's going to be one of the questions. I feel like how do you fit in training? Like, how do you train for these things? But yeah, it is very, very hard for people who are just doing it for enjoyment. Finishing your job 9 to 5, and then, oh, I'm going to go out a run, or I'm going to go up before work and do it. It's because, even though during a race at some point we do hate it, but we do it because, we love it in the end.
Oh yeah, as soon as you finish, right, you're signing up for the next darn thing. You forget about everything that you've just been through as well.
Yeah. For me, it's maybe sign up for another marathon, not a 250K in the desert though. So that's a good time, that half marathon for, 4 months of training where you said you were, overweight, smoking, heavy drinking, and you come out and run, 130, off of 4 months of, virtually no running. And that's incredible. But then after that, did you go straight on to like 100Ks, etc., or did you have a start? Well, you had the Bordeaux Marathon, but after that, was it? I'm going to try ultras now. Yeah.
Yeah, it just sort of fell into my wife actually came up with this idea to go out to do this race in South Africa in the Kalahari Desert. Again, it's 7 day race, 250 kilometers, 155 miles, carrying your food and kit to survive the week. And yeah, it was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go and have an adventure. And we had all the gear, no idea. We rocked on up there and uh, on day one, it was a realization as this is one of the hottest places on earth, the Kalahari, and extreme conditions. And here we are carrying these sort of heavy packs trying to get through the desert landscape and make it to the end of day one. And I remember just sort of coming alive out there and enjoying it and pushing myself really hard and just sort of feeling like at home. I grew up in a pretty hot place in Australia, so I have this sort of course, heat acclimation that kicks in, and yeah, I felt comfortable out there, and I sort of get through the week-long race, of course, with some highs and some lows, and end up finishing in sixth place with other sort of sponsored runners, more professional runners, more experienced runners than myself around me and behind me. And a lot of people sort of said to me, "Oh, you should probably take this a little bit more serious, and maybe you could do really well at this." And that sort of sparked something inside of me because, I've always been competitive. I think that's the Australian spirit as well, and I found a way to be able to sort of use some of that negative mental energy that I spoke about before when I was running these races to sort of block off everything else that was happening during the race and just push myself really hard to get to that finish line. So that really just started then, like, okay, I'm going to do all these stage races, would lead to go to Marathon des Sables and
Hmm.
many different races around the world. And then, of course, the races just got longer and longer and dumber, I guess, as well.
So that in the Kalahari. So for people who include myself who don't know what it involves, so you say it's over 7 days. So is there a set? Do you is there like cut-offs? Do you need to make a certain distance on the first day, or are you allowed to just do the full race, the 7 days?
No, so you do it over the 7 days. It's about 25, 26 miles per day on average. One day they'll actually make you run, 50 miles. And of course, carrying your food and kit to survive the week is where it becomes incredibly difficult. Just like Marathon des Sables, you have to have all of your food and everything you need. You can't go to the shop. Uh, have to carry your sleeping bag, and that is heavy. You start off pretty heavy, and I'm talking 6.5 to 10 kilo bags, depending on how much food you take, and that's quite a weight when you're in um, 40, 45, 50-degree heat
Mhm.
in salt sand, and you're trying to compete at the front, like whatever weight you've got is going to slow you down. Then usually it's a limited amount of water supply too. So at the checkpoints, you can only take enough sort of to fill your bottle. You'll start to, of course, get thirsty, dehydrated, and then when you finish the race, they'll give you another 4 liters of water, but then usually you have to last the next until the first checkpoint on the next day before you get more water again. So, you go through day two, day three, day four, and suddenly you're running out of food. You've not been drinking enough water. And yeah, it's a physical challenge, but the mental challenge really kicks in then because you start thinking about the outside world. Wouldn't you rather be at Pizza Hut or McDonald's, having a sausage roll or a pie or something? and you just start to think, can I get to the end of this race? And people start to fall apart then as well. So that's when I like the challenge the most, because it's like, who's going to hang on here? Even if you're at the front, you just still don't know what's around the corner. And yeah, great race, great challenges, those.
Yeah, that just sounds insane. It's yeah. If you run out of food, that's you done. Like you can't go to Tesco. You can't go. There's not a shop on the corner of the Kalahari. It's
Oh, and when you finish a race like that and you're down at Tesco in the queue, right? You come back to the UK, you go and do your weekly shop, and you're down there in the big queue and there's people everywhere, and you're like, oh, this is taking forever. Suddenly, those little things in life also don't matter to you either, because you realize, like, I've been through a lot more than this. I can handle the queue at Tesco today. So
yeah,
there's some really good sort of things that you can learn about yourself. You come back from these races usually wanting to change a few things, maybe about yourself or your life. And yeah, you're much more patient and resilient in day-to-day circumstances too.
yeah, definitely. And then that yeah, like you're saying, though, if you put yourself through that hell of 45, 50 degree heat, yeah, I guess getting to day six, you're just like get this race done. But when you come back to UK, yeah, you can nothing will really bother you because you've been through hell already.
Yeah, well, the most difficult things when I was going to do these races was I was living in Edinburgh, and you can't train in 40, 50-degree heat there. So I actually had to set up my spare room in the house to have heating facilities in there. And I had a treadmill in there, and I had like the window shuttered with that sort of heat warmth protectors that would keep the heat in. I had radiators in the room, and then I went down to is it B&Q, the department
Yeah,
store?
yeah, thank you.
Grabbed a bunch of heaters, the electrical heaters, and put them in the house too. Now I live in a house in an apartment in Edinburgh, so someone was above me as well. And in winter, they must have loved it because all of the heat, of course, would have been rising up. But I trained in there and I could get that up to, I think it was like mid 30s, sometimes even high 30s. My
Good.
electricity bill, of course, was massive. But I train and train with clothes on, with bags on, heavy bags, heavier than I would run with. And I would work my ass off as much as I could and then just get to the race. And a lot of other people, of course, are living all around the world in hot locations and would get there and hit the ground running. And I actually adapted to it pretty quickly, and yeah, spent a lot of time in that on that treadmill. Oh, that's bringing back some bad memories too. Yeah.
Yeah, that as a Scotsman who's lived in the west coast of Scotland all my life, I can't even imagine. Like even when it's sunny, like it was one day here, it was 28 degrees in Greenock, and like even a 10 mile run, I was like that enough. I can't run in that heat. But I get that with a lot of people who do London Marathon. So they train the west coast of Scotland from the January right through in the eye of the winter. Then they get to London Marathon and it's maybe 20 degrees. It's like, well, I'm not acclimatized. I've spent the whole winter training in the worst rainy, cold weather. Now it's summer weather now. So and then some people get away with it, but some people their bodies just that just
Yeah.
gets to like maybe halfway and they just start dehydrating quicker because like you said they've not been able to train their bodies in that kind of environment, which is a bad shame for some of my club mates. But yeah, that must have been quite a. I think the Scottish runner Callum Hawkins he did the same thing when he was training for the Gold Coast. Unfortunately, that was a sad ending. But I think he was doing the same for Tokyo as well. He in his garage he just bought a bunch of Aldi heaters and just turned them up full max. He says he got it up to quite a decent temperature on the treadmill, and he said that was the best way to train in the heat before he went to his altitude training, etc. So, but no, I can't imagine training that heat. I don't know how you did it with all that gear on as well.
Well, and I think also what it does is it already preconditions you not only to the heat, but being able to do the work right in those tough circumstances when you get to the race and it sucks. Like you also can fall back on, Yeah, well, it's been sucking in the spare room, running on the treadmill with, not much to look at or having to watch something on YouTube. And, you've been through a bit already. So, that's also a good thing. I have been running around the beautiful parts of southern Spain or somewhere hot,
Yeah.
so yeah, it comes back to help you as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But following, like, so that was a sixth place finish. That was your first time, and then that was in 2013. Then 2015, sorry, 2013 and sorry, 2014, you finished second. So you went back for more, and then you finished second this time. So did you prepare differently for that Kalahari, or just the same, and you just were more experienced?
Think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's experience, isn't it? It's learning the things that you could do better. You're always learning with your kit. Lighter kit, better kit, picking up some tips, maybe see other people doing. Of course, training a little bit more and harder and pushing. I actually was in a really good battle with the first place winner, which was a guy called Mahmout from Turkey, who was world class. He was like a Navy SEAL from Turkey, and he was as tough as they come as well. And there was two or three other better runners than me there that sort of imploded throughout the week, and I ended up picking up the second by just sort of hanging on. So, yeah, uh, incredible to think just how far I was sort of growing with this as well. So, yeah, I was really happy with that result as well.
So obviously, like when I'm racing in Scotland, you get to some 10Ks and stuff, you get prize money. But what's the prize for finishing second at one of these events? Is it just a T-shirt or something?
Yeah.
That's a
We
shame.
now some of the 100-mile races have, of course, got prize money, but yeah, that's something that's, of course, on a smaller degree. But sponsorship, even in 2013, 2014, when I was doing these races, was a factor. So I was starting to get contacted by some of these results at that earlier stage. Um, to be sponsored as well. So not with money, but more kit, and other things would come later on. But yeah, so that was kind of neat to not have to pay for some things because, running in races in deserts and doing that sort of long distance of 7 days, 150 odd miles, 250K, you go through a lot of kit, a lot of shoes, a lot of stuff too. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I was going to ask you actually. Like, obviously, road racing and the track racing, the dragonflies from Nike have kind of taken over the track world, and then on the road, Nike Alpha Fly, and more recently the Adidas shoe, which is breaking some records. But for these kind of races, in the desert, though, what is the kind of go-to shoe? What's the main kind of one everyone wears?
Oh, you could ask 100 people and there'd probably be 100 different answers on that. So I've had different experiences. Those early years, I actually ran in the Saucony Peregrines, which were really good. Uh, I'd have the ankle gaiters on too. So I used to have to get my shoe, and a cobbler used to do it actually in Glasgow, put sort of the taping around the shoe, stitch it in so the gaiter would actually Velcro sort of stitch onto that to keep the sand out, of course. So yeah, you had to sort of find the right shoe that gave you enough sort of room to move, but also would fit the gaiter quite nicely as well. And the Peregrine worked really well for me. So then I was actually sponsored by Brooks for a little while. So then they were looking after me. I was getting shoes through them. And of course, after one race, the shoes are pretty much destroyed as well. But these days it's Hoka or Hoka, however you want to say it. There's Ultras. I actually wear New Balance now, and I've had all the shoes in between as well. And yeah, they're all good. I think they're all. You just got to. It's like a whiskey, right? You got to just find the whiskey that's right for you. There's a whiskey for everyone out there, and yeah, it's finding the right shoe that fits you.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about. Just before we get back, we do a wee bit on your time in Scotland. Before we get back to the outstanding ultra races, so tell us a bit about your time in Scotland. You're telling me before the call that you worked for some nice companies in Scotland.
Well, yeah, I worked for William Grant and Sons. It's the largest family-owned distillery in the world. They make Glenfiddich, Grants, Balvenie, Hendrick's Gin, have brands like Monkey Shoulder, Sailor Jerry as well. And yeah, so I spent a lot of time up in Speyside, up around Dufftown. Spent some time in Bells Hill around the bottling facility. We've got a facility in Girvan and a couple of others as well. But yeah, it was an incredible experience working with that company. And I remember my first boss, he was as Scottish as they come. And I reckon it took me about 12 months to be able to understand what he would actually say to me. He'd always be grumpy. He'd always just really talk in a Scottish sort of mumble as well. And he'd usually be on the phone, like giving me what for doing something wrong probably, and I'd get off the phone, I'd think, what did he just say to me? So I really enjoyed my time in Scotland, enjoyed working for that company there. We still have our place in Edinburgh, but the last 6 years we've actually been living here in the United States. So yeah, one day I'll be back. One day I'll be back, and
Yeah.
yeah, look forward to that.
And did you, well, obviously, except from your treadmill heater running in the Edinburgh Flat, did you do any races at all in Scotland?
I have, and the thing is that there's so many little ones that I actually did as training runs that I'm probably going to forget a load of them. But I rolled out of bed one day to do the Edinburgh Marathon about 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes actually before the race start. And you know where the race start is? Oh, I think it's London Road. Our
Not sure.
house actually is like 100 meters from the start line.
Yeah.
Now, in the morning, it had been raining. It was freezing cold. Like it was a terrible sort of morning. And I thought, nah, I'm not going to bother doing it today. I just going to be bothered. I had a free spot actually, so it didn't really matter to me. I was just going to run it. So I'm there munching on like a bacon buddy. And then suddenly the clouds sort of part, the sun comes out, and I think, oh, you know what? I'm going to just put some shorts on and shirt and get up there and go and do it. And I literally was there like a couple of minutes before the race started. That's how bad my preparation was for this darn thing. And I ended up finishing like 3:08. So,
I,
it was pretty good, considering it wasn't my fastest marathon time, but it was at the point. And I thought to myself, there's something in this, right? We take things too seriously sometimes. We overanalyze everything, and maybe you chill a little bit, you run faster, and it worked for me on that occasion anyway. I did do the Hocker Fling, but not competitively. I ran with a friend
mhm.
from Canary Islands. He'd never been to the UK, so he was a little bit slower. So him and I slogged through that. Uh, that took a while. I have done a race around Glasgow, wherever the windmills are. It was like a 50K
Oh,
race.
yeah, yeah. My girlfriend, she works for like Iberdrola. So she's like, yeah, we should go up and see these the big wind. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
Strathaven wind. I can't remember, but yeah,
tradition.
I know exactly. There's like a 5K, a 10K, and then like a 50K or something.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So that was pretty neat. I have done loads of other little ones, and some that I've even started. I started the West Highland Way, and the weather
Mhm.
was terrible, and I walked off at Balmaha. I was like, no, it's too wet and too cold for me. Plus, Paul Giblin was there as well, crushing it at the time, so I was never going to catch him.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I had some really great experiences, and some there, like I say, I won't even remember. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. No, it's yeah. I think West Highland Way was only last week or a couple of weeks ago. So I've seen loads of pictures of people on online, etc. I'm just like 96 mile or whatever it is. I'm like,
It's a great challenge, and unlike here in the United States, where they have paces sort of for most of the, let's call it 100-mile races, then the West Highland Way, I don't think there's paces, and it's just crew, isn't it? So, yeah, pretty tough conditions, fast too. I mean, I don't know if Paul's time's been broken since, but I know he was running 14 hours ish, I think, back in the day. So, yeah.
I think I think someone has. I want to say the name Rob Sinkler. I want
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
I think, anyways. I'm not too sure. I'd have to. Pete, who I usually do the podcast with, he's like
Is it
he's
encyclopedia?
English. Yeah, he runs. He's English, but he moved here because he married a Scottish woman, and but then he ran for Scotland at 100K, but he always goes like, I'm English, and I've ran for Scotland, etc." But he'll probably know if who's got the record because he's kind of verging into that side of running now. So he is. Because he can't get fast at the marathon, that's all.
Well, that's what happened to me, right? So you first go to 100 miles, and you start going to 200 miles. Now I'm going to 250 miles.
Wow, 250 miles. I mean, you're saying about the guest we had on for the 100K, etc. That's considered like a kind of like a sprint for you, the 100K. So the nutrition's all different. So especially, look, we'll go into your other races that you did, but in the Kalahari, look, what was your nutrition? Like, it can't just be gels, except you just need to take on actual meals.
Yeah, you have to get the balance right between, probably racing through the day with gels and quick fire energy, or the chewy blocks, maybe energy drinks. I'm not sure how much energy drink powder was when I first started, like Tailwind, for example. I don't think they were around in 2013, 2014. So certainly didn't have a lot of energy drinks at those early races, but that's what I really usually run on now. But of course, if it's a stage race, by the time you finish in the afternoon, you want to eat some jerky or nuts, or I used to take pork crackling because it's actually really high in calories, and you
Yeah,
sort of sing around for a little while, and then you've got to sort of be munching, and it was good just to munch on that stuff. And you take the camping food that you add the water to. So you would take some of that and eat that, and I tell you, by the end of the 7 days, you're so sick of everything you've taken. I remember taking mashed potato mix, like adding water to it, instant mash, and I remember taking that to Marathon de Sable, and I could not eat mashed potatoes for years afterwards because you sort of start to dry retch. You start at points you're struggling with what you're eating, and you need to eat it, but your body's just saying, no, I can't eat this anymore. So yeah, there's
yeah.
been some things I can't eat anymore either.
Oh, wow.
Cliff
Well,
bars, Cliff bars ever. Yeah, things
wow.
like
Like, I didn't realize it would have that effect on you. I mean, thank God for me. If it was me doing it, thank God I wouldn't eat pizza during it. Because I love pizza.
that. Well,
Could never
it's
go.
the heat, it's the body reacting to the pressures that you're putting it under as well. Um, so even when you finish and you're sort of cooling down, your body's still trying to process everything, I guess. And yeah, it becomes a really big problem for people as well. Luckily, I've got a cast iron stomach, so I can pretty much eat everything, get through it.
Well, that's probably a very, very good advantage to have in your
Yeah.
discipline of sport. But yeah, but we're still on the Kalahari because you won it. In between that time, you finished third at Cambodia Ancient Khmer Path, and then you came second at the Gobi the Desert. But just before we talk about the other races, but you won the Cal, so third time trying that. It looks like your third time doing it, but you won it this time. So again, just learn from experience and doing it, and then obviously doing running a lot more as well, and then you were Kalahari 250K champion.
Yeah, by 2017, I was probably at the fittest I've ever been then, and fit and fast and ready to go. And yeah, I find myself at the end of day one in second place. And by day two, I'm actually just ahead in the lead, but there's three or four really good runners behind me. And I remember on day three thinking to myself, I want to just go for it today. And I was going to push out as fast as I could and just see if I could just hold on and just drop everyone. And I get to the first checkpoint. We're all actually together. We get to the first checkpoint. Let's just say we're 8, 10 miles in, chance to fill the water bottles up. Usually that takes time, right? Like 30 seconds or a minute to get that done and you move on. What that first checkpoint, I'd learnt this from the Turkish runner the year before, 2014. He did it to me. He didn't stop at the checkpoint. He just kept going, right? And that's like a sign of like, I don't need to stop. I'm fast. I'm going. I'm strong, right? I did this same thing in 2017 to these other runners that were just like right behind me. I didn't stop. I kept going. And that was the last time I saw them, because then I'm just running like, I can't, fuck this up now. I've got to keep going. And ended up finishing the day really well, putting a decent time, 10, 15 minutes on them. and then could control that sort of going forward. And over the next day or two of races, they sort of imploded a little bit and ended up cruising to the finish line. So day 7 was really enjoyable to sort of think just where like this journey had all started, coming out to this race and now winning it as well. So
Hmm.
um, I was very proud of that.
Yeah, no, you should be. Absolutely should be. It's an incredible achievement. But like you're saying there, we get in that 10, 15 minute gap. You're talking about the Edinburgh Marathon, just getting time to chill. So maybe that's what happened. You got that 15-minute gap and you're like, I can chill now. And then the body just runs faster and they imploded, try to chase you down, whereas you're in complete control.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that was always one of my strengths during these 7-day races, usually there's one day that they'll make you run around 50 miles in total. And that was always the day that I would wait till. Usually it's day 4, day 5 of the race. And I would usually wait till then because I knew I could go longer that day and be fast and consistent enough to try and take the lead of the race or at least gain some positions then. But in 17, I was like, no, we got to try this earlier. And at that time, I actually had a Scottish coach, Donny Campbell, who'd done a lot of running in Scotland, and
Yeah, yeah.
he would say to me, you've got to go out faster and put the pressure on them and take that pressure off yourself." So that was sort of some of the plan going into the Gobi race there in 2016, and then at this race in 2017 as well.
Right. Well, it's worked. It worked a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Donny, yeah, I've never met Donny before. He probably doesn't even know who I am. He probably doesn't even watch this wee silly podcast. But no, Donny, I seen that was a good few years ago. I think it was the fling, and I think he won it. But I think there was a few like very very good ultra runners who came out, like Hal Kilmer or something from America came over, and there was a guy called Robbie Britton from down in
Yeah.
England. They came up
Yeah, I
with it,
remember that actually.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
think,
I, I think I was still around then. Yeah, that was probably
yeah,
about the same time.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
that was.
Donny,
He's
he
a
just
bit.
looked like a monster.
Yeah, I think his quads are illegal. They're too big.
Yeah, yeah. It was like I think that was like quite a good video. It was like I think the Highland Fling obviously got like a production, like a low level production team in to come and film it, and
Okay.
then watching them, it's like they're going off at like 6:30 a mile here. I'm like, it's like what, 56 miles. That's 6:30 a mile is quite quick for like a 56-mile race, and or get into the wilderness of Scotland. But Donny, he came out and won, and I think it was the first time someone had broke 7 hours that for the fling,
Oh, yeah,
etc. But coming into the finish, I was like, look at the size of his quads. That's not right.
it's not fair. And
No.
Donny's sort of similar to myself. Like I think mindset is a big thing for Donny. He's been in the military previously. He knows how to push himself. He's not worried it's cold or wet. He doesn't have excuses, and that's a lot of the reason why I sort of used Donny for those couple of years to push me a little bit further as well. Is because I've sort of run on the same sort of ways as well. So yeah. Yeah, it's like anyone finding the right coach, finding the right fit for yourself, and Donny was good for me at that point.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's another link back to Scotland. You lived in Scotland and you had a Scottish coach as well, so outstanding. So, but then obviously quickly, well, the Gobi Desert, there's a story behind that, so we'll come to that later on. But you obviously finished third at the 220 kilometer, the ancient Khmer path, as well. So was that one? Is that um, similar to Kalahari? Is it in a desert or is it a bit
Uh,
different?
that was actually pretty neat. 220 kilometers. I think that was over 5 days in Cambodia. You didn't have to carry all of your food and kit. Like you would have it in a bag that you would get every night at the end of each stage. So you just ran with a bag with your snacks and drinks, whatever you needed. You could stop along the way and get a Coke or an ice cream as well because there were
All
shops,
right.
local villages. So that was fun. Hot, humid, of course. There was some pretty fast runners there. I actually had some real bad knee niggle at the time. So I didn't particularly perform as well as I would have liked in that race. But
Hmm.
this is one of the races that started to make me sort of realize like there's a real great opportunity to be able to take running like as a way to see the world as well. And yeah, I'd been to the Kalahari and South Africa. I'd been to Morocco running MDS. Now I'm in Cambodia and meeting other people, having different experiences, and that was real fun for me as well. So I really enjoyed that race, and perhaps one day my wife and I will actually go back and do that again. It was real fun.
Oh, nice, nice. But like you're saying, that all these ultra races that you're doing, you get to see all these different parts of the world. So, which, as you're going along these routes, along the race route, some travel companies can't even take you there, but you can run, you can run there. So,
Many years later, sorry, in 2017, actually, I went to the one and only time that Marathon des Sables did the full race distance, the 155 miles, 250 kilometers in the Ica Desert in Peru. And that was exactly that. Apparently, we were running in a part of the desert that at that time had never been run in before. So it was like, how cool is this? We're in Peru running in the desert, and it was along the coastline as well. It was stunning. You realize then that you're actually really fortunate to be able to do this and to see it as well.
yeah, that's incredible. So, all the way in Peru. I don't think I've spoke to anyone who's even ran in Peru before, so I can tick that off the list now. So, so how was that? Was that when you ran with your wife, or did you go to try and compete?
No, I actually went to try and compete at that, and I actually got sick before the race. So I'd won the Kalahari just 3 weeks before, finished the race, the Kalahari, ended up traveling over, got sick in between, and yeah, I was actually like a night before the race started, like the day before, I actually fell unconscious in this
Wow.
little town in the middle of nowhere, and woke up, and there was all these people around me trying to take me to the hospital. So for a little while there, I had some issues going on, and I ended up finishing the race in Peru, mainly because we were in Peru and it was phenomenal, and I'd been invited out to do it. So I pushed
Hmm.
myself through it, but yeah, the result wasn't fantastic.
Yeah, but like, even still though, like becoming unconscious, that you still,
My
still
wife
doing
was
a big
furious.
race.
Yeah, she was furious. I didn't tell her, of course, until after the race what had actually happened, and yeah,
Hmm.
the medics at the race weren't too happy when they heard this either. So, but yeah, I got through it.
Like you're talking about the mental mindset as well. Maybe that is, maybe that was a symptom of that. Like, no, I'm still running.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a slog, and I remember, yeah, having to go dig pretty deep to get through that. But yeah, tough times are worth it in the end.
Yeah, no, definitely. But it's glad to see that you're healthy and now and then. Don't know. Thank God for that. It wasn't anything worse. Um, But no, like so following on from the Kalahari, you did that 3 times and you won it the third time, and in between that did the Cambodia 220K. But 2018 and 2019 were quite very, very good years for you. 2019 you did the Triple Crown 200-mile races. There was the Bigfoot 200, Tahoe 200, and Moab the 240, and you finished second place overall. And it says here, I'm guessing that's 220 hours and 10 minutes and 44 seconds. I've never ever seen an accumulated time like that for any kind of running event. So
Sounds long.
that's so 200 miles each. So
Yeah.
is like, please tell me that's like spaced out over a few weeks.
So back when I did it, it was done three 200-mile races over 9 weeks. The first race is Bigfoot 200, which is in Washington State, up around Mount St. Helens, a big Mount Rainier, a big national park area with massive mountains. You do about 40,000 feet of climbing, which is about 15 to 20,000 meters roughly. So
Hmm.
it's there are checkpoints along the way. You can have crew, you can have paces as well. When I go to do the race in 2018, I go there with no crew and no paces. So I basically have to just survive on the checkpoints and my own drop bags at those checkpoints too. This was the first time I'd ever done 200 miles. So I went into this race like shitting myself, thinking, can I do it? I've run 100 miles before, not particularly well, but I'd finished them. And I was still sort of learning about getting and going further. So, yeah, I throw myself into this unique challenge. I ended up getting through Bigfoot, finishing, but I had terrible blisters at the end of the finish. I think I was
Mhm.
16th place at the end of Bigfoot for
Wow.
just the race. Now, there's two races kind of going on, right? So if you're at Bigfoot, Tahoe, or Moab, you could just do one of those races. I was doing all three. So I was also in a race for the people that were all doing all three. So yeah,
Hmm.
16th overall at Bigfoot, my first ever 200 miles. I was like ecstatic. It blew my mind away to think I could run 200 miles. Like I just came back like, fuck, what else can I achieve? This is phenomenal. And that was a big thing for me. I hadn't really probably had that rush since I'd finished my first 100 and finishing, of course, the first half marathon. They were the sort of big sort of steps, I think, along the way. So
Hmm.
that was great. But just in over 2 weeks' time, I was now in Tahoe, and that's where I am actually today. Uh, Lake Tahoe, one of the biggest lakes in the United States, has a massive mountain range around it. And you have to run about 205 miles around Lake Tahoe up on the Tahoe Rim Trail. And you do again about 30,000 feet, so around 10, 12,000 meters of climbing. This race, I had no crew, no paces again, and I'm at the front. Courtney Dauwalter's there, of course, best female ultra runner on the planet, best ultra runner on the planet, if you ask me. In general, another runner called Kyle Curtin, Jamil Khoury, big runners were there. I ended up finishing in sixth place with them ahead of me. So I'm now like just like buzzing. I've gone from 16th to 6th. I'm in second place overall of the Triple Crown as well, with one race to go, which was in 2 weeks' time, which is the Moab 240. Now, Moab is in Utah. It's hot, 40 degrees during the day, but can be snowing at nighttime there. Big mountain range there called the La Salle Mountains. So you're sort of running in the desert, you make your way to the mountain range, and then you finish 240 miles later down in the town of Moab in Utah. It's awesome. If you ever get the chance to go and look at it, or as a town even, it's fantastic. I know starting Moab, I'm in second place of the Triple Crown overall. So I'm thinking to myself, this is my bread and butter, right? We're in the desert, it's hot. I go out real hard and push throughout the day as fast and as hard as I could, get through the first 100 miles in about 24 hours. So I'm motoring. I'm up the front overall with the race as well. I'm doing well. Unfortunately, the back sort of 100, 140-ish miles don't go as well to plan. My quads are destroyed. I don't forget done 400 odd miles in the last few weeks as well. I'm exhausted. It all starts to shit hits the fan, as you probably say. Uh, I get towards the finish line and I just cannot hold on to this lead.
Yeah.
And I lose the opportunity to win the Triple Crown with someone who's now become one of my good friends and took second place. And I think I finished there in the top. I know I finished in the top 10 there. I think it might have been ninth or something there as well. So yeah, phenomenal. I just done not just one 200, but now three 200s in 9 weeks, finished second overall, competed at the overall individual race level too.
Mm.
Uh, and just bloody loved it. Yeah.
It's mental. Well, I couldn't even imagine, you know, even after a marathon, that it takes me about, 6 weeks to probably get back and be like, right, I feel normal again. But after 200 mile, like, and then doing another one 2 weeks later, and you're definitely not recovered. Surely not.
No, definitely not. And that was the biggest thing was when I finish a race, like I've been training hard beforehand, I usually, when I finish, I want to get on the beers and eat the pies and have some fun as well. And
Yeah.
like I had to try and stay on for 9 weeks. That was probably the hardest part was to sort of stay with it, recover, rest, sleep, don't do anything stupid. And then, yeah, be at the start line again and just have the energy to pick yourself up and go for it. Yeah, so by the end of Moab, I think I took a few months off after that.
Oh yeah, yeah. You would need to just yeah. I think if you try to do any more races, your body would let you know quite soon. Like no, no, you're not getting any pace. You're getting nothing. You're in recovery mode. But no, that's incredible. Finishing, I mean, still keeping back to it. All started off with a drunken bet. Now you're placing second in the triple crown of 200-mile races, which is it's a big deal in ultra running. All
Yeah,
starts off with a drunken bet.
no, right. And Dan, my friend Dan likes to take all the credit for this as well. So
Oh, I didn't know, Dan. Dan, if you're watching this, no credit at all, none. This is all Dion. So, but then 2019 was also you did another 200-mile race, the Delirious West 200, but that year was also quite special because you became the first man in a single year to complete, obviously, the Grand Slam Ultra Run and the Leadville series as well, which includes some races that you would never find me doing. So what tell us about that? So was that always part of your plan? Was you thinking I want to be the first man, or did it just happen naturally that you just became the first man to do it in
yeah,
a
I'll
single
come
year?
on to that. I just remembered that Delirious West was a 200-mile race in Australia, and that was actually the inaugural year. And I got invited to come and do the race, and I went back after, of course, having done those three 200-mile races, and went to Australia for the first time ever to run a race back in, the home country, and ended up winning that race and doing like 60 hours. So. It was phenomenal just to sort of be in Australia and just to be out in this place that, if you'd have told me when I was a young boy, I'd be here running later on in life, be like, no one in the world. So again, part of the journey of where it had all taken me. Now, during that sort of period of going out to do Delirious, I put myself in for the Western States draw. And
Mm,
there's like 300 people ish that get the opportunity to run this race once a year. And of course, it and UTMB are probably the races that most people want to run. And I put my name into the draw, like with thousands and thousands of other people. I didn't expect really to get picked for this. Now, they do a live draw, so I'm actually watching the live draw happen on my laptop. And I'm thinking to myself, I had such an incredible year the year before doing that Triple Crown of 200s. This will, if I don't get selected for Western States, this year's really going to be a letdown. I was starting to think to myself, what can I do? Like, what races are out there that still excite me? And there wasn't really much around. So as I watch this draw, I'm like hanging on every number that's been picked out. Of course, none of them are mine. And I start to panic a little bit and I think about the Leadville 100. Now, my wife had run it the year before, 100 miles up in Leadville, Colorado. It's one of the highest altitude places in Northern America, and you're running 100 miles. It's incredibly difficult. I saw her get to the finish line, and I was so proud of her and just loved this mining community there that I thought, I wonder if I should go back and do not only the Leadville 100, but the Leadville series, which is called the Leadman series. So it includes a marathon, a 50 miler. You do a 100-mile bike ride, which Lance Armstrong and Floyd Landers, all of the legendary bike riders would do. It's a it's a mountain bike ride. It's known as the highest and hardest 100-mile mountain bike ride in America. You do a 10-kilometer ride, a 10-kilometer run the next day after finishing the 100-mile, and you do a 100-mile running race. So 5 events over about 6 weeks.
wow.
So I'm now, right. So just to recap, I'm still watching the Western States draw, but I start thinking maybe I should sign up for this Leadman series. So I think they're at like number 240, 250 on, say, 300-ish. I'm thinking I'm not going to get drawn here. I start to punch my credit card details in for this Leadman series. So I'm going in, putting my name in, yeah, putting my credit card number down. This is what I'm going to do. This will be epic. As soon as I press enter on the payment, the next number that comes out on the draw is my name and number for Western States. So I'm like, what the fuck? I don't need to be doing like a crazy adventure this summer either. Like, I'd done that last year. But then I thought, well, if I'm doing Western, of course, I just paid to be in the Leadman series. That means I'm doing the Leadville 100. That's two of the Grand Slam. I only need to get into two others. So I ended up getting into Old Dominion and Wasatch 100 as well. So that would mean over 2 to 3 months in the summer of 2019, I would run the Grand Slam of hundreds and complete that Leadman series as well, the bike ride and those other races that I explained. It was absolutely phenomenal just to sort of I was so excited. I thought, can I do it? I'd never ridden a mountain bike in my life. Like, sure, I might have ridden it down to the shop or the beach or something, but not competitively. And it's a 12-hour cutoff for the bike ride. And I was like, so worried, like, can I back myself up at altitude to do all these things and then get on the bike and run as well?
That's wild. I mean, I've never heard of a series like it before in my entire life, you know. But
Yeah.
like, but the fact that you did it though, and for me as well, you're doing that 200 mile race, you're still recovering, etc. But
I
but
got to
it's
the first race there, and the first 100-mile race was Old Dominion, and I thought to myself, well, I'm glad it's only 100 miles. Like this shouldn't take too long. And I ended up finishing sixth place, did 18 hours 51, if I remember, 54. And yeah, sixth place overall. And this is my luck. I either finished second or sixth. But in previous times, years gone by, the last few years, that 18:54, I would have won the race. So yeah, here I am now finishing in sixth with these better runners ahead of me. And that was a really great start. So it was from there, I was like, well, maybe I can get through this. If you're finishing in that sort of sub 24-hour time, you're getting it done fast, you're getting time to recover, rest, prepare for the next one. So yeah, it was different to like the Triple Crown where you're just out there slogging for like 60, 70, 80 hours to finish.
yeah. I mean, it's still. I mean, the Leadman, Leadman series. I was like, it's all running, but you mentioned the mountain bike, 100 miles of mountain biking, and the key word there is mountain. 100 miles. I've always asked people that, cyclists, is it harder to cycle uphill or run uphill? And like, no, it's always harder to cycle uphill. So a mountain bike, 100 mile, I can't even imagine how hard that
At
would have been.
altitude.
At
Yeah.
altitude as well, yeah. So I can't imagine
Yes.
how hard that would have been.
Yeah, proper altitude starts at 10,000 feet, goes up to 13,000 feet, and it's an out and back. And you got the world's best riders there. A lot of the are they called domiciles, the people that ride for the teams in the Tour de France, etc.
Yeah,
A lot of those riders will actually go there just for a training ride, and of course they're phenomenal, right? So I go out there. I've done some training. Of course, I've got all the running experience in the world in the legs, but that didn't help me too much, like sitting on a bike and riding up at altitude. I'm towards the back at the turnaround point, and all I know is I just need to finish this for this whole Leadman series and Grand Slam to be done in 1 year. I needed to, of course, finish the bike ride too. So as I turn around, I'm on time to probably just finish. So I'm up
mhm.
against it on the way back. As I go back, stop and get a drink here and there, top my bottles up, whatever it would be. I started to get behind time, and I started to think to myself, I'm not going to do this. The whole summer's going to go out the window. And I started to get this feeling of just like complete like shock, like, oh my, I'm not going to finish something. I always finish these races. I'm always usually at the front. Here I am now, like one of the worst bike riders known to man at the back of the field. But I don't give up, right? I've still got that sort of, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going. And I get to the last checkpoint coming off the mountain, and I say to the people there, like, there's an hour and a half to go. I forget the exact distance. Maybe there was an hour to go, and there was just over 10 miles, maybe it's 12, 15 miles to get to the finish line. They're like, I was like, do you think I could do it? And they're like, look, the front runners would do it, but you're like last. There's no way you can do it. And I thought, well, I've got to go for it. So I just picked up this wind, like second wind, third wind, fifth wind, whatever it was by now. And I started to ride and ride and ride. And I remember like feeling like the bike's outside of me, and I'm just hanging on. You know, I get to the last mile and there's like a minute or so to finish, but the last mile's downhill. The street is lined with people in Leadville just waiting to see the last riders that can make it. And they're cheering me on, they're pushing me up the hill like the Tour de France. And I coast into the finish line with like 11 seconds to spare. And it was the best finish of my life. Like I had won races, finished on the podium. This race was just electrifying. And even as I tell this story, like I can just feel everything coming back to me is how far I really had to push. It was good to be challenged in a way that I hadn't been for a very long time to get to the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, this is just looking at this here, like how fast would would the professionals do it, and
Yeah,
you,
6 hours or something.
yeah, I'm like you did not too shabby compared to world's best cyclists who go and do this race. Considering the
No,
time you would have to make up to get to that finish, no, that's quite incredible. It's quite a nail biting finish, but you still
it
did it.
was. I finished, and it's probably one of the most incrediblest, proudest things I've ever done is that bloody bike ride. But I never did a race again on a bike.
No, no, no. I'm working that you said the last mile was downhill. Like I would fall off and break something. Like I don't know how you kept control. Well, and having that anxiety, like I need to make it to the finish line, or else I'm cut off. Um,
And
I
when I
know.
finished, the gun goes off to say that's the end of the race, and they give you the gunshot shell. They're like, you're the last rider. You're the last one before the gun goes off. I was actually sixth last overall because some riders that were still behind me, they didn't finish within the time on the clock, but they finished with chip time. So yeah, sixth last, sixth worst rider, known a man.
Well, they can't run like you though, so that's nothing.
Well, yeah. So the next day, right, I have to get up and run a 10-kilometer race, and just 7 more days later, you're running the Leadville 100, one of the most iconic races with some of the fastest runners from around the world there as well. And I had, of course, all of those other 100 miles in my legs too.
Yeah, and that's this thing as well. Going through that mountain bike at altitude and climbing into more altitude, you need to go and do a 10K, which is probably like a nice wee warm down for you before you attack, the 100 miler.
So you'd think so, but I don't know, maybe in my head at least, it seemed to take forever. So yeah.
But the Leadville 100 that you're saying that's a very very famous 100 miler in America.
It is, yep. It's one of the sort of iconic races here in the US and gets, I think, around 800 or 900 runners. It's one of the bigger 100 miles here in the United States, if not probably the biggest. So yeah, it's a great race, great place running out there as well. Beautiful countryside, well well looked after as well at the checkpoints and things. So yeah, it's real fun.
Oh, nice, nice. A bit different from the Kalahari where no, that's all your food done. But yeah, so like it looks like obviously the 2020 as well, COVID happened, so nothing was going on. But in 2021, there is a Scottish ultra runner from back in the day who was coached by Arthur Lydiard, a man called Max Telford. Um, he was from Scotland and he was kind of one of the few to do bad water, and I can see also yourself in 2021 you did bad water and you finished sixth in a time of like 30 hours. But bad water is, I've looked at it, it looks absolutely insane, the hottest place on the planet. I've heard stories of people's trainers starting to melt on the tarmac, etc. So again, Badwater, I mean, well done, incredible achievement. But was that
Another
one? It was always was that on the
another
bucket
sixth
list all
place.
along? Yeah, yeah, another sixth place. I know.
Yeah, look, Badwater was one of the last races that I wanted to do. And I would run and train hard, like through those periods that we've just talked about. And then I'd kind of go off the boil not get too excited by running, have other things that I like to do. And then I'd sort of give it away for like 6 months or 12 months. And COVID was a good time for me to, yeah, give it away again. But then the call for bad water sort of started to come in my head again. I always wanted to do it. I'm here in the US, should do it while I'm here. So I started to put in an application for it, got selected. There's only 100 runners that are selected, usually from around the world. And you have to put in like your CV and the reasonings for wanting to do it. And they select the world's best runners. And here I was fortunate enough to be one of those and toe the start line in 2021. I was actually staying in Las Vegas beforehand, and Las Vegas is only a few hours away from Death Valley, California, where the race starts. And we had this heat dome that had come over the whole of the US, and it was on the news every day. And, it was incredibly hot, 120 degrees on average around the streets of Las Vegas. Now that's probably, yeah, sorry, that's probably like, well, it's probably 50 degrees. So I was out like training and getting ready, and I was thinking, yeah, this is awesome. I'm fit-ish, used to the heat again. I was like, okay, how bad can it be? Well, we get out to bad water and it's 140 degrees, which is like, I don't know, 55, 57, 58 degrees Celsius. And this is the day before, and I have a photo of myself standing next to like the ranger's hut where there's a big thermometer sign, 140 degrees. And I'm thinking, geez, this is going to be a long 135 miles if the temperature hangs around like that. The race starts at different times throughout the day and into the night. If you're one of the faster runners, which I was, you start at 11 p.m. in the last wave. And at 11 p.m. at night, it was over 100 degrees. So it was over 40 degrees, whatever the temperatures are. So that's how hot it was. It was windy and hot. And yeah, as soon as the gun goes off, it's crazy. Uh, Lots of fast runners there. Harvey Lewis, one of a great ultra runner, female runner, Sally McRae's there, like Nike athlete. So there's a lot of people there, a lot of runners. Everyone just goes boom. Now the Badwater race is special because you have a crew that supports you throughout the 135 miles as well. So all I've got to do is concentrate on the running, but the crew's in the car beside you and they stop every few miles to give you more water. And that's really important because you might run 2 miles and you might just be running with a handheld. You don't carry anything else, of course. You're running along. You're 2 miles later, you're out of water. It's so hot out there. So your crew then have to supply you with water and any sort of food or gels or things that you will eat during the day. As you say, there's reports of the shoes melting on the gravel. You can cook an egg on the car bonnet. It's crazy heat. So as I run throughout the evening, I get through into the day, I start to make my way up. I was about 15th place around there for a long time, start to make my way up into the top 10. Then I start having this massive battle with Sally McRae, the Nike runner, for sixth and seventh place. So we go backwards and forwards all day. My team's working hard, her team's working hard. And just in the last sort of 6 to 8 miles of the race, you have to climb back up this massive mountain where you finish on the road. And I take sixth place and finish. And it was a phenomenal achievement because my wife was head crew chief. I had some other friends there who'd come to pace me, and we'd done it, as a team. 30 hours, they were all stuck in the car. And for 30 hours, I was like nonstop on this road running in this heat.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Fucking hell. That sounds insane. Look, you got me. I mean, I knew bad water was hot, but you said 58 degrees. Like, Jesus. Like trying to do even just try to like be still in that kind of heat, but you've got to get out and run. So, I mean,
And
I was just gonna ask, like, how much water did you go through?
yeah, uh, bucket loads, and they would when they see me, they would spray me down, they'd cool me down. by the time I'd get to the next spot, 2.5 miles later, where they'd see me again, I'd be dry as a bone. I'd be out of water. You're trying to eat gels. Gels actually didn't perform too badly out there because they're easy. But
Mhm.
after 30 hours of gels, you're not eating that stuff anymore. Like it's not good for you to be eating that stuff either, probably. So your stomach starts to play. You're hot all day. You're getting, chafing. Your feet are swelling up. Like it's just a non-stop battle. Everything's happening at once.
I'm guessing that probably the best recovery period after that is to go back to Scotland and just get a winter in Scotland just to cool down.
Yeah, it would have been actually. That would have been a real good place to have done it. So, yeah. And after that, I was like, I think I'm done with running. I had done every race that I'd wanted to do except one that wasn't actually happening anymore. So I thought, well, maybe Badwater was a good swan song, but it turned out to be not the case.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can see here, you in 2024, you finished second at the 100-kilometer race in Alaska. You also finished like 15th in the Ultra Gobi, non-stop in the 400 kilometers non-stop race across the Gobi Desert. And was that where the big story happened in that one, or was that back in 2016?
No, so the Gobi 400-kilometer race was the last outstanding race that I ever wanted to do. 250-mile non-stop race across the Gobi Desert in northwest China. It's self-supported, so different to the Triple Crown series where you might have paces and crew, no paces, no crew. Also, the route's not marked, so that means that across the 400 kilometers, there was 30 different checkpoints that you have to make your way to by self-navigating. So this was going to be like the adventure that I'd always wanted to do. Self-supported, self-navigated, self-reliant in the desert, which I'd been in previously and loved. So I thought, yeah, I always wanted to do it. It stopped for a few years. It had come back. And of course, after Badwater, I'd stopped running. So I'd been on the beers and started to put on some weight as well. And I saw that they'd come back, and I just made this post on social media. It's like, oh, maybe couch to 400 kilometers. Maybe I could come back. And they reached out to me and said, we'd love to have you come and join in. But they said, look, we know you've got a great CV of results, but it's been a while since you've run. So they made me do a 100-kilometer race. At the time, I was up in Alaska. So this 100-kilometer race in Alaska was on. I thought, well, I'll go and see how well I can do at it. I'm still pretty chunky from all the beers I drank, but managed to come second. And the Gobi 400 gave me the all clear then to come in October 2024. So I tried to get fit, but with work and traveling, it wasn't as good as I would have liked back as to how I always trained so hard. So I get to October 24 and I'm carrying a little bit of weight. I've never done any navigating in my life. And I'm thinking this is going to be a big challenge. And yeah, it was. It didn't necessarily go to plan. I finished in 98 hours, 99 hours, but 15 places you say, but with terrible blisters, with times of thinking I was going to quit, times of thinking I wasn't going to make it to the finish line.
Mhm.
Had to really dig deep. Like I'd never done a race so long, but also for so long time wise as well. So I'm actually going back again this October to run it again. And hence why I just ran the 100-mile race in Montana on the weekend. I'm this year I'm going back fitter and faster, hopefully.
That's right. So, you after Badwater giving up running, but now you're back.
Yeah, yeah, I know, right? It's like I thought I was done with running. I was happy with that too, but yeah, who knows? Who knows why? But this is an adventure, and of course, being in the Gobi Desert was special to me because in 2016 I became known for running a race across the desert there over 7 days. When of course little dog starts to run with me, who would later be called Gobi, and we would spend the whole 7 days together and she'd be by my side and I'd fall in love with the little dog and want to bring her back to Edinburgh in Scotland after the race as well. But As the race finishes, she goes missing in China, and I fly back to China to search for her with hundreds of others of people helping as well. And our story goes all around the world, and suddenly I'm not selling whiskey anymore. I've got a book out, and it's taking me around the world and Gobi the dog as well, in a new direction. So, I love that place. I've run out there a couple of times now in different races, and it's just special out there to me. And it's good to be able to go back again this year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You've got it's a special place for you as well, you know. But I think it's amazing, you know, a guy a guy runs an ultra race, they made a connection with a dog. Dog goes missing, you go, I want to try and find this dog, and then the word goes out and then the media go crazy for it. You find your dog and then next minute you're like, I'm a New York Times bestseller. And it all
Yeah.
comes back to a drunken bet.
Does and it also comes back to one moment during that race, that 7 day race in the Gobi, that I'm still. This is 2016, right? So Donnie's been training me. I've been training real hard to get out there, fit, getting sponsored, and I'm going there to win the race. Nothing else matters to me. My mindset's just locked on winning at all costs. And I get there and I'm battling away on day one. And then on day two, the dog starts running with me. And then on day three, the dog starts running with me again. But it's a life-changing moment that happens on day three when I go through this river crossing that's about the size of a football field in length. First and second are just ahead of me. And as I go through this water crossing, I'm starting to catch them pretty quickly. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm about to take the lead of this race. Like, I'm going to take the lead. I'm going to control it. This is going to be the chance. And then I hear barking, yelping, and whining behind me. And I look at first and second, and they're like just pushing through the water. They're like, they don't care about the dog barking. The dog keeps barking and whining. I decide to stop and I look back and I see this little dog running up and down the side of the water, and I know, she's thinking if I go into the water, I'm going to get washed away, I'm going to drown, I'm going to die. And in an instant, I start thinking, what am I going to do? Do I take the lead? Do I help the dog? I start to go back and help this bloody dog. Now it goes against everything I'm there to do, right? I'm there to win. That's all that matters. But I love dogs, and I'm going back to help this dog. So as I go back, then I start thinking I got to pick the dog up, and what if it tries to bite me? What if it's got rabies? Everything's going through my mind. So I pick her up, have her outstretched arm, like trying to go back across the water with her. But then she sort of nuzzles up in my arms, and I look at her and I sort of think to myself, wow, maybe this dog and I are meant to be friends. Maybe I was meant to go back there and pick her up. And I end up finishing day 7 with her, uh, in my arms, crossing the finish line. The picture and the video of us finishing goes all around the world, gets picked up in the press in the UK, and then BBC, CNN, Fox, ABC, ESPN Play of the Days, like crazy coverage around the world, all because of one act of kindness, though. If I don't go and pick her up, none, the rest doesn't happen. You and I aren't chatting today about some race in the Gobi Desert. So it's really, really just one of those pivotal moments in life that I just never have guessed where it would take me.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think at no point in your life did you ever think I'm going to pick up a dog and take it across the water and my life's going to change forever. Like I'm going to stop working for a whiskey distillery and I'm going to go on tour with a New York Times best-selling book
Yeah.
as well.
Well, at the age of 14, I'd left home and had a pretty tough life. And at the age of 18, I'm working in a meat factory for like 3 years in Australia, and my life's going nowhere fast. And people would say to me, you're not going anywhere, you're not doing anything with your life, you're a bit of a loser. And look where life can take you as well. It's a journey, right? It's like an ultra marathon full of highs and lows, but that's what it's all about, sticking through those low moments and waiting for the highs to come.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a brilliant. I mean, they're getting to the towards the end of the episode here, but that's a great way to finish on it. Like because that's what running is all about. You get highs, you get lows, but the one thing is just sticking with it, consistency and results, or in your cases, though, like no life changing experiences they can happen
Yeah.
as well. So.
And it,
No,
of course, it doesn't need to be at that level, does it? We, like I said pretty early on, like I think you're always learning about yourself when you run these races, when you push to the limits, when you get to those limits and you go further, your mind expands, and we're pretty incredible human beings as well, and pretty dumb to be doing this too.
oh yeah, we are. We're incredibly dumb, incredibly. But just before we finish off, so you're going to be doing the Gobi 400 kilometers again, and you're hoping for obviously for a better result this time, you know, and maybe you said your navigation skills, etc. You know, but you've gone by your past results, you get better every time, so
That's what
you
I'm
might
hoping.
even it could be a second or a sixth. You never know.
Probably. Probably
But before
six.
we, yeah, let's hope it's number one. But before like, what kind of advice have you got for anybody else out there, like a runner who's like, struggling, you know, with motivation, etc.? Have you got any advice for anybody out there?
Wow. Usually my wife's better at giving advice like this
Yeah,
than I am. I think you've just got to have fun, enjoy it. There's a lot of noise in the sport, and there doesn't need to be. And sometimes the best ways are just to forget about having any expectations, to go out there and run, to go out there and enjoy it. Soak in the moment. You never know what's around the corner, and this is we are very fortunate to be able to do these things that we do and experience these races, meet these other people doing it. And I think if you have fun with it a little bit more and don't take yourself so seriously, you can do a lot better and probably run a lot further than you think you can too. So that would be my advice.
oh, brilliant. Well, this has been it's been an absolutely it's been a great episode and it's been amazing chatting to you. You've so many experiences in running. Again, thank you very very much for coming on and chatting to us all the way from the USA. And good luck in October. I'm going to be. I'm actually going to tune into this into this race to get the
Thanks.
results.
Oh, it's an epic race. They have epic coverage. It's phenomenal. Just quickly, like before you start the race, all of the runners have to ride on a horse to get to the start line through this traditional village. And I mean, how many times do you get on a horse to start an ultra marathon? Yeah, it's just
Never.
incredible. Yeah, so uh, it's a big show. It's a big deal. In China, it's revered as being like a massive race and only sort of legendary status if you get selected and go and do it. So, yeah, I'm really lucky to be going back again and looking forward to all the fun around it.
Brilliant. Well,
See Gobi
cheers.
before we finish the. Want to
Yeah,
see Gobi?
yeah,
Let's give
yeah.
it.
Let's see we Gobi.
All right, so it's here she is. She
Hello,
just turned
Gobi.
11. Yeah, she just turned 11 the other day. So yeah, she's we've been together for the last 9 years. So we both look a little bit older than we did in 2016, but she's still living the dream and loving life and looking good as well. So yeah.
Yeah, she's looking great. Hello, Gobi.
So yeah, pretty phenomenal. If she can run across the Gobi Desert, you can run across the Gobi Desert, Sean.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe one day. Maybe, maybe one day. No, that was good, and that was good. The send off, seeing, getting to meet Gobi. Brilliant. But no, thank you very much for coming on, Dion. And any of our listeners interested in Dion's book, it's called Finding Gobi, a New York Times bestseller, and it's I've not read it yet, but I will. I will read it.
It's on
Uh,
Amazon. It's the Sunday Times bestseller too. So big. It was a big book in the UK. It is a big book in the UK. So yeah, you can get it on Amazon as well. So yeah,
right,
thanks. I appreciate it. I know that we've had a massive amount of support in the UK and in Scotland, of course, as well. And yeah, appreciate everyone following Gobi's journey and mine as well.
brilliant. Well, thank you very much for again for coming on, and we'll we'll tune in very very soon. And good luck in the Gobi 400.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.